We're facing a crisis in America. The consolidation of power in agriculture has its grip on our seeds, our labor, our markets, our processing facilities, and our farmers' livelihoods.
I just want people to think about the whole story of what they're eating. It wasn't until some court cases that people were allowed to ostensibly own the intellectual property for things like pink tomatoes. A big seed company can still send a threatening letter, cease and desist, to some small seed company and say, you have to stop selling pink tomatoes. And none of us as small seed companies have the wherewithal, the money, the understanding of that patent system to fight that in court.
To build a system that's just built around extracting value has clearly not been good for rural America.
There used to be a market for sheepskin. We used to stack them up, salt them, send them to China. Tariffs and trade wars happened and that stopped. So now they're 100% going into the dumpster.
If we're good at capitalism, then that means that we should have an environment that is conducive to entrepreneurship, and there should be more people working for themselves. But today, as we sit here, I promise you, there are far less people working for themselves, and there are far more people working for the Walmart on the east side of town.
The whole story of what they're eating. That story starts with seed, kind of like time traveling, because we're walking in the footsteps of thousands of generations that have come before us, developing that crop. Historically, when there was a lot more small farms on the landscape, we had hundreds of seed companies consolidated down, and now really just 3 major players for commodity seed. Only one of those is based in the United States anymore. This is one of the flower heads that it would have been threshed out of initially. You can see at the base of these shuttles, at the base of the poofy part, is where the actual good seed is. When the seed industry consolidates, they're not only buying up their markets, their dealers, their supply chains, economy of scale. The main thing they're after often is the intellectual property. And so they might use only a fraction of the varieties of the seed company that they acquired. Right now we're doing a rough winnow. This will get like the worst of it, and then we can dial it in a little bit more until we get a clean seed lot. This is a vibratory motor to help it go down, and so I'm just kind of putting on the gas a little bit. The slower it falls, the better the separation. Bayer owns 80% of cotton genetics. If that's not a monopoly, I don't know what is. We're losing access to genetics that we need for production now, but we're also reducing the available pool. We don't know what we might need in the future. We don't know what we're losing now. Most seed companies are really trying to provide seed for major production regions like California and Florida. They're not thinking about sort of niche markets like the Midwest. And it's great to have your tomatoes produced locally, but if that production is dependent on seed that's grown in China, that's not really fulfilling that circle that resilient, sustainable production should be.
When U.S. policy enabled living organisms to be patented, it created complex legal battles between seed savers of all sizes and major corporations. Now, just 4 companies own 60% of the world's seed stock, and genetic plant diversity is on the decline.
There's nothing left in Lincoln County in terms of ag infrastructure. Our farm is a lot different than what it was 20, 30, 40, certainly 50 years ago. We had a church right here, right next to our farm. That congregation fell apart years and years ago already. I went to grade school about 2 miles from here. The grade school that I went to, the little cartons of milk that you get at lunchtime, they were bottled at the bottling plant that is about a mile away from that school. And the milk that got into those little cartons was produced within a 5-mile radius, you know. And I mention that not just to be nostalgic about the good old days, because that gets a little tired after a while, but it does make you think about, like, how did that economy work, right? There was, in my mind, there was practically no extraction there. We've always looked at these processing plants and anything like that in terms of their efficiency. Well, we can do more in a day, and so what if we got to haul that milk farther? But the unintended consequences of that is we no longer have a bottling plant right here. That grade school no longer exists. It's been shuttered for years.
I really like it.
Well, I
It's
know,
so
I
nice to
know,
pack.
it's nice to pack, but it's I wouldn't want it any wetter.
Yeah, no.
No.
There also is some like grassy like over there. See, there's, like,
I'm just
grassy
looking for
patches.
kind of an assessment. I mean, I feel like things should start drying here pretty soon. I wouldn't want it any wetter than what it's coming in right now. I don't know, I think we just kind of carry on here. It should,
Okay.
I mean, it should be drying pretty well.
Working here since I was 9, like actually working here. I am pushing haylage and I'm packing this bunker silo so that we can store the feed for when we have to feed the cows later on. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing all of the feed to the edge of the pile to make it a U shape so that we can pack the edges as best as we can. So none of the feed, or as little as possible, rots or molds or, you know, becomes unusable.
My dad and his dad came to the United States. They had, in fact, bought this farm. They moved here in 1968. And my dad, he liked the idea of America, as cheesy as that sounds. He was so in love with this country. No matter who comes through my office door, I don't care if they're Mennonites, Mexicans, or Martians, if I need help and they say, yes, I would like a job, and they provide me with documentation that says that they should be allowed to have that job, I'm obligated to take that documentation at face value. If you were to wave a magic wand and make all these people disappear, but if that were possible, the dairy industry would die a horrible death in about 48 hours. If all of these dairies lose the majority of their staff, who's going to feed these cows? We don't have a factory here. We don't have a retail shop here. We have living creatures that need to be fed, milked, cleaned up after every single day, okay? If those people that do that good work every single day don't do that, we have consequences. And guess what? If I decided that I lost my staff and I'm like, I'm done with this, I'm out, and I want to take all my cows to the slaughter plant, guess who works at the slaughter plant? It's the same demographic of people. Well, holy smokes. I mean, we'd have cows piling up outside of dairy farms, dead and bloated, because nobody would even be here to process them into the hamburgers that we drive through the drive-thru every damn day and eat.
Immigrants built this country, and let's be clear, they farm it too. A 2023 UW-Madison School for Workers survey found that over 10,000 undocumented workers perform around 70% of the labor on Wisconsin's dairy farms.
Agricultural consolidation has affected the whole country, the whole region, whatever you want to look at it. In this area, in the Driftless area, one of the higher concentrations of organic farms anywhere, I think, in the country. The whole region is highly erodible. And if you're going to grow crops organically, that means a decent amount of tillage if your rotation is going to be built around corn and soybeans. Even in the organic space, those are the only two crops that you can readily sell to elevators at any time of year. Any kind of small grain, you have to work pretty hard at markets. You have to find the right feed mill at the right time who even wants a load of oats. The ownership of the commodity grain system is bad enough, but then that's compounded by the fact that for efficiency and profit's sake, everything has been pigeonholed to corn and soy. I don't think is wise from the standpoint of land stewardship, soil health, groundwater. It's not an area that's built for corn and soy. for us to generate enough profit to buy into Paul's farm and also diversify our farm to the point that we felt like we were going the right direction in terms of soil health. We wanted like a 5, 6, 7 year crop rotation. That from half the crop rotation to 20%. Even in organics, it's hard to sell all those other crops. Our solution to that, which was like not a very easy solution, we had to build our own market. So we built the flour mill. Then we can buy our own wheat off of our farm. We have the grain bins, the grain cleaning facility across the driveway, the mill across the driveway from that, and then we're self-distributing all on our own box trucks. So like the whole supply chain is right there.
If we sell to a local elevator, we don't know where those crops go. And we have no connection to our community in that way.
By doing that, so much of those dollars stay here. When COVID happened, that was like when we first launched the mill, people wanted to buy 100 pounds of flour and put it in their chest freezer. You work really hard to tell people like, the bin's full, the mills are running, just buy 5 pounds and then come back and buy 5 pounds again. Like, our supply chain isn't gonna fall apart. The big supply chain did. Things happened in COVID that exposed how the commodity system is super efficient when things are running great. If you pull the plug on one part of it, the whole thing falls apart.
John and I originally thought that we were gonna take over his family's farm in Lancaster, but then we found this job posting from Paul about how he had a lifetime of knowledge and wanted to pass it on to the next generation.
And young people, by and large, don't have the ability to like break into that space without a tremendous, extended hand like we had from Paul.
The United States currently has the smallest number of farms since 1850. Between 2017 and 2022, Wisconsin lost 10% of its farms and 30% of dairy operations. Nearly 300 million acres, or about a third of the country's agricultural land, will transition to new owners over the next 20 years as current farmers exit the field.
Right. So these are all of our client hides. We stack them in piles of 10 because we wash about 10 a day. It's important that we keep client names on every hide so we don't get them mixed up. So we literally use cattle tags, cattle ear tags, so we can reuse them. We are all about finding things that are reusable, even reusable zip ties. So what we wanted was to create a natural tanning process that doesn't use the harsh chemicals in the commercial tanning industry. So we use bark tannins and eco-friendly soaps. This is what they look like when they're fresh off the animal. They've just been fleshed and salted.
If you direct sell lamb, your net profit is usually about $84 for the meat. If you process a hide with us and you sell it on the market, you are going to make $100+ additionally on that animal.
Once we receive them, we check them in, we get them tanned up, and we like to keep our turnaround time under 5 months so we can get these hides back to the farmers so they can get to their local farmers markets and the fiber festivals and sell the hides.
We are rinsing the bark tan out of the fiber. So once it sits in the bath for a week, we want to make sure that the fiber gets clean of the tannin. So because the sheep live on the land, there's a lot of remnants of their life that's left behind in the fiber. So we do our best to get it out at every stage. It usually takes through the finish to get all of the veg out of the hide. But this stage, we're really focusing on the dirt and the grit.
We both have our own sheep, and I have some goats, and so I sent my hides off to a tannery, and they came back really like tasting of heavy metal. Like I could sit next to them and I could taste it in my mouth. I'm like, that's a lot of chemical if it's coming through my skin. I was like, we have to do this differently.
He's removing the tannin buildup and any extra membrane that was left behind on the hide, also turning it into like a suede-like finish. Right, so this is the first step.
There used to be a market for sheepskin. We used to stack them up, salt them, send them to China. Tariffs and trade wars happened and that stopped. So now they're 100% going into the dumpster.
This tumbler, it's an 8-foot tall tumbler. As the tumbler spins, it carries the hides to the top and they drop. Just that action softens the hide. They can buy the real thing from the big box store, but what they don't realize is it's coming from overseas. That farmer wasn't paid for their hide. I mean, the entire supply chain was paid pennies to get it here. It's very sad because we know what it costs to tan. We know what it costs to raise the animal. Since we've opened, there's been a growing demand every year. The larger the awareness has become, whether it's through social media or festivals or education, people are paying attention to using the whole animal.
Every dollar counts in ag, especially in livestock. Shrinking market opportunities and a lack of processing infrastructure for animal fibers puts valuable hides in the waste stream.
We do need to incentivize these small companies. Agriculture in the US rooted in this individualism, that can be great, but ultimately I think it's a situation where a rising tide lifts all boats. Farmers Union gives that platform to stand on, to share that message. It brings together people that care about agriculture and care about rural vitality.
It's incumbent upon us to show up once in a while and try and move the needle by educating. So Farmers Union is the conduit for that, you know? I don't have an audience with my legislator every day. I mean, I could, but at some point it's harassment. But through an organization like Farmers Union, we can say, hey, this is what's important to us as a community.
By coming together with diverse perspectives and shared values, we're demanding a food system that protects the needs of farmers, workers, and eaters, and cares about preserving biodiversity across our state. Join the Wisconsin Farmers Union and fight alongside us. The future of farming in Wisconsin depends on us. We represent the past, present, and future of this great nation. All of America am I.